Today we're going to demonstrate how you can derive value out of digital transformation for your organization with Highland Solutions services and the OutSystems platform. So just by way of introduction, I'm Rhys Quirk. I'm leading the Highland Solutions OutSystems practice here. I'll hand over to Mike.
Great, thanks, Rhys. Yeah, Mike Hughes on the sales team with OutSystems, but I get to work very closely with our partner community, so excited to be here today with Highland Solutions, supporting you, Rhys, and supporting us technically, we have Stacy. Stacy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Stacy Levine. I'm a senior solutions engineer with OutSystems, also helping support our partners such as Highland Solutions.
Great, thanks, guys. So just a little bit of an overview to this webinar. So we're just going to quickly step through who Highland Solutions is and OutSystems and our partnership with OutSystems. We're going to walk through digital transformation, the concept itself, how you can execute on digital transformation and why, so the benefits. And then we're going to hand over to the OutSystems folks just to provide a walkthrough of a demonstration of the capabilities of the OutSystems platform, and then we'll wrap it up with some key takeaways at the end. So Highland Solutions, we've been around for about 17 years now. We've been recently added to the list of Inc. 5000 growing private companies. We're a solutions partner that you can trust. We build long-lasting solutions that evolve with your business as it grows. And we are underpinned by an attorney-led compliance team. So they're dedicated to protecting your secure data. We're also SOC 2 certified as an organization, and we implement HIPAA and PCI compliant solutions for our clients. So why choose Highland Solutions? We are focused on turning frustration and confusion that typically exists in web application and mobile development into clarity and focus. So we encourage your organization to look beyond technology and look to the opportunities. And this fosters unexpected breakthroughs, true teamwork, and frees your organization from the constraints to success. We start with a collaborative story mapping exercise that brings together the product team and the delivery team. We put together a roadmap design. We have agile development to actually execute on the custom web app and mobile app development. And we're proactive in our implementation and ongoing support. I'll hand over to Mike to give a short intro to OutSystems.
Great, thanks, Rhys. Yes, so we'll get into more depth in a few more slides, but just at a high level. So OutSystems, we have the OutSystems platform, which fits into, depending on which analysts you follow, low code. We're recognized as the leader in the low code market segment by Forrester. On the Gartner side, we fit into application platform as a service. An OutSystems platform is what we'll be showing today and how it can help support your digital transformation journey. We've been in this space for 15 years. That's all we do. We have clients all around the globe, 25 countries, across all sorts of industries, many end users of our applications, and a great partner network, as we can see today, with some really great partners like Highland Solutions. But we'll get into more depth on the OutSystems platform itself, and we'll see it in action with Stacy in a few slides.
Great, thanks for that, Mike. And just to kind of give you a little bit of a taste for what we're going to be presenting and kind of to set it up. So digital transformation, what is it? So I'll just sort of start with some examples that we would typically experience as consumers in our digital age. So if you're like me, the tax process used to include a trip to a tax accountant to help you fill out paper-based forms. And this process has been made more efficient and convenient now by the introduction of self-guided online portals that collect data with electronic forms and submit the information electronically to the various levels of government. So out of that, hopefully you receive a nice tax return electronically via ACH. And other examples include signing up online to health insurance, which used to be a bit of a pain, paper-based process method, buying airline tickets, which used to involve a trip to the travel agent, and applying for jobs, which used to involve printing a job app form and snail mail letter to someone in HR. So what we're working with here, and the definition that we'll be working with the demonstration, is really around the adaptation of parts or all of your organization to deliver the benefits of digital and to ultimately result in realization of value. So some commercial examples of digital transformation include the customer relationship management software, from its most primitive digitization, for example, of a Rolodex of business cards, to searchable and editable digital portal, to complex supply chain management, to digitally enable transactions, data exchange, and management of each part of the supply chain. In each of these cases, transactions are digitized, managed, interactions between people and systems are digitized, and processes are simplified. So this webinar really focuses on a single example that Mike and Stacey will walk you through around a field service app and how that can be delivered by the platform to replace a traditionally paper-based process. So I'm just going to step you through how digital transformation can occur. And if you're listening to this webinar, you're probably one of the disruptive leaders in your organization. And so disruptive leaders on the top there of the slide, typically your C-suite or your chief digital officers or non-executive directors, line managers, those sorts of folks. You're interested in the must. We must get a digitally enabled solution out to our customers. Then you have the digital natives, such as ourselves at Highland Solutions, who are digital ambassadors. We have customer experience experts and creative technologists and web developers and designers and so forth. And we're really focused around the customer's needs. And so together we can work with the digital enablers to sort of shift some of that culture that can sometimes result in a little bit of a barrier and inertia to change, and really demonstrate the value that a digital transformation can deliver to the organization. So let's just walk through a typical example of how a paper-based process works. So paper-based, obviously, by its very nature, is physical. It involves transport, typically. So in the example before, in the job app, you would actually literally have to walk to the USPS to post your job application. It's wasteful. It involves cutting down trees and the filing and physical storage of paper and filing and so forth. It's manual, so it's prone to errors and human mistakes, which we obviously want to avoid. And it's inefficient, ultimately. So it introduces overhead and particularly around digital transcribing. And just sort of quite an interesting fact here from Forrester research is that 27% of businesses rely on paper-based processes for over 50% of their business processes. And that's an interesting fact because despite the pressure on in the consumer world, the business world is still lagging. And so consumers and businesses users alike want the automation that's involved in digital transformation projects to automatically calculate and provide algorithms to process transactions, to enable 24/7 access anywhere in the world, and to securely provide and store data and introduce privacy into that process. So that's really what we're trying to prevent and to avoid. And what we want to deliver is digital transformation value. So we want the digital solution to be customer-centric, to deliver an excellent experience, to be uniform, so it's reducing the errors that would typically be associated with paper-based forms and transcription and that sort of thing. It standardizes the process. It provides a more streamlined, faster, more efficient process. It delivers repeatedly, so we can repeat the process indefinitely. And with the translation into data, we can then mine that data for insights and increase the value. And our digital transformation should work on all devices, mobile, web, tablet, desktop. So I'm just going to hand over the presentation here to Mike just to walk through the OutSystems demonstration.
Great. Thanks, Reese. Go ahead and fire up my screen here. All right, you should see the barriers transformation slide now. What makes this challenging, right? Why aren't we just able to click our fingers and transform digitally, right? There are lots of different solutions out there in the marketplace, software developers, right? Why can't we move very quickly and just solve this problem? Regardless of which clients we speak to out there, we tend to see that even those that have moved to perhaps agile techniques, those that have invested in perhaps open source stacks, they all have, on average, at least really 20 to 50 different apps in their backlog, right? Things are just not moving quickly enough. And part of the challenge then is that for each one of these apps, right, you're now looking at having a, if you really want the customer experience on any type of device, right, you've got to think through, okay, well, how is this going to run on my desktop versus a tablet versus the mobile phone? I got to think about whether it's going to be supported on Android, just iOS. So the complexity starts to rapidly increase. Now, every organization, right, they have all sorts of different back-end systems that could potentially contain data that may be needed in order to provide a transformed digital experience, right? Whether you're going to your CRM platforms, whether it's your legacy back-end platforms in SAP, you need to get all of this data in order to create a new type of digital experience and join it across these different types of platforms. So again, these multiplying factors are making this problem exponentially more challenging. Compounding that even further now, okay, we've kind of figured out what we need to do. Now we've got to go out to the marketplace and actually find the unicorn developer, right, that happens to know 8 different technologies, how to glue them together in a DevOps manner. Because of course, right, there's one thing we can depend on, right, which is that everything is going to continue to change, right? So being able to take that backlog and effectively create solutions that support all the different form factors with all of the data and systems that you need when faced with a shortage of the right types of skills is incredibly challenging. And that's just the start, right? So these are metrics out in the industry, but if you figure that for each of these apps, right, maybe it's a $250,000 investment to build it, that's the tip of the iceberg, because it's going to cost 7 times more than that to maintain that application over time. So it's a very challenging problem. This is the reason, right, that we can't just click our fingers and magically transform. It's going to take more than that. So does it need to be so hard? With OutSystems, we believe the answer is no. We provide a platform that allows teams, allows our partners to deliver very, very quickly using low-code development. So we'll see this in action, but we're not writing code anymore, right? We're dragging and dropping, assembling logic, assembling data interactions, creating links to existing legacy data in a low-code fashion, which is much, much faster. And being able to integrate into our legacy data, into transactions that may span multiple platforms is key, right? If we want to actually create a true digital transformation, it's going to involve more than just providing some content to the end customer, right? This is taking data from different platforms, using it in new, innovative ways. And we want to be able to do that across any type of device. We don't want to have to write 8 different code bases to support different types of mobile platforms. And it doesn't do us any good to just deliver that one time. If you think about the previous slide, there needs to be this notion of continuous delivery, and that needs to continue forever, effectively, right? We don't want to stop after our first deployment and say, okay, well, now we need to regroup, spend 6 months trying to figure out how to deliver a second time, right? There's this aspect of continuous delivery that's extremely important. And in an ideal world, you wouldn't need to go out to the marketplace and replace all of the different team skills. Even if it's a solution delivered by a partner, you still are the ones that eventually, as an end customer, right, need to kind of own that solution. So what's delivered to you ideally would be something that you could change in the future using your own IT team and their skill sets. There should be flexibility in a deployment model, whether it's in the cloud or on premise. And you shouldn't be locked into some sort of platform that only allows the application to work, right? If you're in that particular platform itself, this should be a solution ideally that allows you to move on if you need to change vendor for whatever reason. So this is what we at OutSystems have focused on, is delivering exactly this. With the OutSystems platform, what you really have is a single platform then that will support the entire digital transformation journey, right? From the building of apps in a low-code way, which is extremely fast, to being able to see dependencies across different environments through our True Change engine, which we'll see in action shortly, being able to automate the process of moving code across environments with a single-click deployment, streamlined DevOps that allow you to now push applications at the speed of business, right? No need to wait 2 months for the change board to convene and come up with a decision about whether we move forward. Press a button and you can move an application into production right away. With OutSystems platform as well, we have all of the information that we need to analyze how our applications are performing, being able to drill into certain database queries even to see where are bottlenecks, being able to proactively make changes in an application to address that user experience, and being able to manage then the governance around that, all of the users, of course, that will be involved in accessing applications across a whole portfolio of applications. This isn't just a single toy app situation, right? For the enterprise, a platform needs to be able to support a whole portfolio of different types of applications, whether they're mobile-centric, whether they're focused on back-end processes, integration business process. All of those are an important part of your digital transformation journey. So all of this is what you get with OutSystems as part of the platform. So before we see it in action, then let me just tee up the kind of manufactured scenario that we have here. So it's going to be a field services application that's focused on phone installations. And while I've invented this, right, this should resonate with those of you who've been through similar types of experiences, right? In an old paper-based world, typically it's some sort of phone call that triggers the process. I need a new phone. We need somebody to go out and install that. So through some negotiation, we agree on a time frame. Maybe I get a 4-hour window if I'm lucky. Maybe it's a whole day, depending on the sophistication of the company. But we come up with an agreed time frame, and as a consumer, then I'm kind of waiting for that day to come, and I've blocked off, taken the half day off work, done what I've needed to do to be ready for this. So on any given day, then the technician may be rolling into the organization, doing the installation, checking on the jobs for that day, taking a stack of papers, leafing through those, comparing the jobs with the inventory in the truck, making sure all the parts are on hand so there's no delay, and then setting off out, right, to start the installation process. Now, of course, Murphy's Law, things don't always go the way as planned, right? There will be delays. Maybe the address was transcribed incorrectly because this is a paper-based process. Maybe bad traffic has caused delays. The end customer has no idea about this. Perhaps the technician wasn't as careful as he intended to be, he or she intended to be, right, and didn't get all of the pieces required for all of the jobs, had to run back, pick up some more pieces. A number of different reasons could lead to the delays. Eventually, they'll turn up maybe within the window, maybe not. The customer may or may not have any idea of the delay, maybe starting to get a little bit frustrated with this. The installation goes through, hopefully with all of the parts without any further complications, and eventually we get to the paperwork, sitting there in the front room, awkwardly signing, going through different types of documents. And then perhaps there's a customer survey, which in this case is probably going to contain less than perfect feedback, right, because of the nature of this particular organization. On the drive back to the office, a technician mysteriously loses that customer survey. Strange how that can happen. So the organization doesn't really have any idea that there is perhaps an issue in the field. Ultimately, the documents are filed as some reconciliation of inventory, which hopefully, if all the paperwork's been filled out correctly, will result in adjustments to inventory that are correct as well, data entry into different types of applications that may form the back office for that organization. So there's all sorts of opportunity for inefficiency here as we move around the dial. And we can certainly see how a digital transformation could really improve the process from an end customer point of view, so we don't end up with a disgruntled customer. So at this point, Stacy, I'm going to transition to you to show us in real life how OutSystems platform can help in a digital transformation initiative like this?
Thank you very much. All right, so right now you are looking at my iPad. In the bottom right corner is an icon. This is OutSystems Now. This is a hybrid application, and I should point out that we open source this, so you can brand it, change it, extend it, do whatever you need. So this should be your company's logo. Right? What's a hybrid application, you might be asking? Well, on one end of mobile development, you have native applications, right? And if you're doing Apple development, you have iOS developers, and if you're doing Android, then you have Java and Windows developers, and it gets expensive and lots of redevelopment work. On the other side, you have responsive web design, so just web app pages that work on devices, but those can't take advantage of native device sensors. And in the middle, you have a hybrid approach. So the applications are mostly web and responsive, but in this case, there is a piece that's installed, just like you download any app onto your device. That provides a bridge between the responsive web applications underneath and the native device sensors. And you'll see some other benefits of that approach in just a minute. So when I launch my application, I get to log in, and I see all of the applications that I have access to as a user. Now, today we're talking just about the field services application, and if I only had access to that one, it would have launched immediately. Going back to the general story, right? So I'm a technician. I have right here in front of me the list of jobs that I have for the day, including any inventory, things that I might be missing, etc. Let's go ahead and start my first job. So I simply click it, and you can see now it's using my first native device sensor. So it's showing where I am, showing the customer's address and the endpoint. It's giving me directions, right, through an integration to Google Maps, telling me about how long it's going to take me to get there, and I've got a bunch of contact information. Once I've arrived at the site, I'm ready to start my installation, and you can see, look, this is everything that I need to install, and my first step is to install the telephone. This is another native device sensor, right? So barcode scanning, because you want to scan the actual barcode, which then adjusts the inventory and allows you to keep installing your products and finish. Once I'm done installing everything that I would need, I want to finish my installation and hand this off to the client to say, yes, they actually did sign and did install the job. And then, of course, rate my job. How did I do? Well, you know, this technician today, not so good. Submit feedback. No opportunity to lose that survey on the way back to the office, and I go. And this is all great, and you know, we've replaced that manual process. We've added all sorts of interesting features and done more, but you know, there could be room for improvement. And we have a feature in OutSystems platform called application feedback, and you can enable it if you choose to or not. It looks like the speaker call out down at the bottom of the screen. On the mobile device, all they have to do is choose that, and now I've got the application within drawing mode. So maybe as a technician, I'm even thinking about ways I can improve this, and I can draw on the screen to indicate. Now that doesn't really tell you anything. I could type my message across the bottom. Again, I'm on a device. I don't really want to type. So I can use the microphone, yet another device sensor, and say, hey, can I get a button that will notify the customer that I'm on the way? Thanks. Because these days, right, every time I have a customer install, I might be at my office, which is 20 minutes away, and I say, yeah, just call me when you're on the way. So that way I'm not sitting at home for 4, 6, 8 hours. So I've submitted this feedback. And now the developer side of the house, let's go ahead and make this change to see why you would want to use OutSystems platform to do this type of transformation of all of your processes. Right? So from the developer side of the house, I can log in, and I can see that I've had some feedback on my application that's been submitted. I have exact screen that was submitted. I've got who submitted it when, the operating system, the OutSystems Now, the shell version. I could play the recording, so I would hear exactly what was being requested, and then I would want to make the change. So let's go through it and make this change. So I'm in the development environment, and I'm looking at this particular screen. So I want to give the user a button to notify the customer that they're on the way. So I'm going to drag and drop a button, and I've dragged it. Now up at the top, I have this big red X. Well, that's not good. Now Mike referred to something called our True Change Engine. That is what you're seeing in effect here. Basically what it's saying is my application is working perfectly fine out in production, but if I were to deploy this, it would be broken. Now in this instance, all I have to do is click it, and it says, hey, I need to set a destination, so I need to put some code behind the button. So let's go ahead and finish making these changes. So I'm just going to notify customer, just set a few properties here, and then I need to tell the button what to do. Well, I need to get some data. Got a couple of ways, write SQL statements, or I even have this cool visual way of working with data that's called aggregates. And I can draw out the data. I drag it. I can see I've got joins. I've got all the SQL database commands that you would expect. It's called an aggregate because you can sum average count. An additional benefit of visually working with the data is I can see in this instance I don't have the phone number. So let me grab the phone number and make sure I add it. So now I have the number. Good, I've got the data. The next step would be to actually notify the customer. Well, I don't really have anything currently in my application to notify the customer. Well, OutSystems has thousands of developers around the world. We have an open source community that we call the Forge. And sometimes developers like to build and share things, whether they're sample applications, how-tos, connectors, etc. So lots of things here in the Forge. In this case, I wanted to use something called Twilio, which is a service that allows you to send SMSs and do text to voice. So I would choose this and install it into my development environment. And then I can go back to my application, look at all the references, all the things that are on my server that I can consume. And let's find Twilio now. So I can add the Twilio connector, and I'm going to add a call directly to this application so I can start using it. It's now added. I'm going to add this, bring it over, and just set a few properties. And say, your technician has been dispatched and is on the way. They should be there in about, we have the ETA on the screen, it's in a variable, so I can do that. Minute. Thank you for your patience. Not quite done. The last thing I want to do is let the technician know that they have notified, that the customer's been notified. So just give a bit of feedback. The customer has been notified. Now I'm going to publish my application. That green button up at the top is the one-click publish, and you can see all the steps that it's going through at the bottom. So it's storing a new version, so this has built-in version control. Then it's generating .NET code below this. This is awesome because I get that no lock-in that Mike talked about. I also get all the speed of development of this low-code approach, but all the runtime speed of a compiled .NET or Java application. And then you can see I've also got the database updated, and my application is now available. Let's flip back over to my iPad, and I'm just going to go back a screen. Now think about this. If I was doing this in a native development approach, to get this type of change out there, what would I have had to do? I would have had to make a change in iOS, and let's just stick with one. Make the change in iOS, even if it takes 20 minutes. I then have to submit it to the Apple Store to get approval, which is going to take 2 weeks on average. Then it's in the store, and then my users have to get notified that there's an update. Then you have to hope that your users download the update. With this hybrid approach, I simply go to, start using my application, And again, it doesn't matter whether I'm on iOS, Android, or Windows. Now I can see I have that new button right there. So let's go ahead and click it. And it says customer's been notified.
Oh, hang on, Stacy, my phone's ringing. Let me just get this.
Your technician has been dispatched and is on the way.
Ah,
They should be there in about 37 minutes.
good.
Thank you for your patience.
Gives me just enough time to shower. Great, good news, thanks.
Thanks, Mike. So as you can see, using OutSystems platform, you can do these types of changes really quickly and easily and continue on your journey for transformation. Now, there's a couple of other pieces that I want to talk about for just a minute, because developing an application is only part of the battle. You need to consider the entire application lifecycle. How do you deploy it? How do you migrate it between environments? How do you manage it so you know what's happening? And we have that covered, as Mike demonstrated. So what you're looking at right now is a management console that shows all of my environments. Now, typical environments have 3 or more, dev, QA, production, etc. You can have as many as you want. This is a demo. I only have 2. On this particular screen, I get to see that I have, right, my platform health is okay, the database used, backup size, etc. It gets more interesting when I go to the applications. On the application screen, I have a list of who has deployed what version and where. So I can see immediately what version of each application is in what environment and the status of them. If I want to deploy an application, let's say I am ready to deploy the field services application, I could click it and I could choose to deploy. Now this is helping me out. It's telling me, hey, I've got a warning, and my warning is on this sample data. And what it's telling me is I have some references within this application that are out of date. Now if I were to deploy this in real life with an out-of-date application, I'd end up with a broken application, and I don't want that. So the platform's helping me always deploy running applications. So I would simply go in, refresh the references, and now I would have a safe, solid deployment. This is, of course, all controlled by users and roles, and you can adjust who has access to what. And that's deploying and migrating. But once the application is out there, how do you know what it's doing? You go through this whole transformation process and build all these amazing pages that do everything you need to do, but if a page takes 20 seconds to load, nobody's going to use it. Well, we instrument everything that happens. We do this asynchronously, so there's no application performance impact. And what that allows is some high-level views of what's going on. So right now I've got a dashboard of all my applications that are in this environment. Everything from the least to the most critical is automatically instrumented. And I can see across the board what's going on. And I see my field services application has red. And if I expand this, I can even see some more information. And the response time distribution is not so good. We use an industry standard that says a page should be displayed in 2 seconds or less. Otherwise, it's not satisfactory. So if I want to dig in and see some more information, I'm going to choose just the field services. And let's minimize this and see what's going on. So the high level, I can see my score is up and down. It doesn't necessarily correlate to the use for a day. I've got some specific screens that are getting slower, but I really don't have the details. And if I went to a developer and said, hey, field services, we've got some problems, guys, start digging into it. Well, what's going to happen? The UI team is going to say, nope, it's not us, it must be the database. And the database guys are going to say, nope, it's not us, it must be the network. And the network team is going to say, nope, it's not us. And it's just a bunch of finger pointing until somebody sits down and really figures it out. Using OutSystems platform, you have all of this information at your fingertips. So I can look at the client-side performance. And notice my client-side average time is pretty solid across the board. Right? So I'm not really seeing any problems there. Notice we also capture the top browsers, their time, the operating system. So maybe you've got a problem on a particular browser. And the thing that would, under typical situations, be hard to tell. Let's go to the server side. on the server side, again, things here look pretty good. Got a pretty flat line, right? The low looks to be about 269 to 450, so less than 200 milliseconds. The server time distribution's good. I've got some queries and web service calls that are a little slow, so maybe I should do some tuning on those. But again, I'm not seeing a problem here. Let's go to the network side. And now I see the performance up and down and all over the place. What's interesting is if I look at the network types, notice the time on the 3G connection is almost 6 seconds, 10 times 4G. And if I look at the carriers, I've got a problem on Verizon. Now stop to consider this. With the way that you're currently developing applications, how easy is it to know and track this problem down? How long will it take you to track something to a particular connection type or a particular carrier? This is some of the power that you get by using OutSystems platform along your transformation process. Thanks.
Great, thanks very much for that, Stacey. Really powerful demonstration of the capabilities of the OutSystems platform. I just wanted to kind of wrap things up a little bit here and really just focusing in on the key points that we walked through today in our webinar. So really, digital transformation can take various forms, from digitally processing paper-based forms to creating new digital interfaces. Those new digital interfaces could be interfaces to your systems of record, your SAP systems, your back-end ERP systems, those sorts of things. It could be making exchanges between data, transforming data, loading it into other systems. There are lots of different applications that the OutSystems platform enables us to build solutions towards. So we build these solutions to meet the changing customer needs and the dynamics of the marketplace, which is obviously constantly changing and constantly moving. So Highland Solutions delivers transformational web and mobile applications that do change rapidly to these market conditions, and it's all underpinned by the OutSystems platform. That's what enables us to deliver as fast as we can deliver. So just by way of an offer to our webinar participants, we have exclusive relationship with OutSystems as a close partner, and we're able to offer platform free, which is essentially the entire platform available to start building on with Highland's delivery services, and the platform at $0 up front. So you can start to actually see the value that we can create and the business problems that we can solve very quickly and easily as a result. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you for joining us on this webinar today. I wanted to thank the folks at OutSystems as well for co-presenting with us, and make the offer out that we've got free consultation, we've got Highland's expertise and OutSystems team that can support and help us to bring your company's web and mobile presence and application portfolio up to speed. So we've got our contact details there, and I just wanted to say thank you once again for joining, and thank you to the OutSystems folks for joining us too.